Greetings, YouTube. When Nixon was in office, did the Republicans blame Tricky Dick for the increase in prices that took place over the time he was in office, before he was impeached and then resigned? When Ronnie Reagan was in office, did the Republicans blame him for the increase in prices that took place over his presidency? How about when George Sr. was president? Did they blame him for that increase? Uh, George Jr. Did they blame him for the increase in uh, prices? Not to mention the ballooning deficit. And when the shitgibbon was president, did the Republicans blame him for the increase in prices over his tenure as the worst president in American history? Not to mention how he ballooned the deficit. Um, Funny, the Republicans are now, right now, blaming Biden for the increase in prices that we're seeing across the board in the midst of a pandemic and a near collapse of, the entire shipping system. The supply lines have been almost severed in the world thanks to the pandemic. So it's kind of interesting that they never blamed any of the Republican presidents for all of those things. During each of those presidencies, they ballooned the deficit. Remember, the only presidents that reduced the deficit at all, the only ones that actually help the economy at all, are Democratic presidents. Go look at the numbers. It's not me making it up. Democratic presidents are good for the economy. Republicans are good for billionaires. Okay? Helping billionaires does not help anyone other than billionaires. So right now, Biden has the worst possible situation handed to him. The panic, supply lines are in crappy shape. We have 750,000 deaths. We have unemployment issues. We have underemployment issues because capitalist business owners don't want to pay a living wage. And thankfully, the workers are finally deciding to stand up and say, you know something? If you're not going to pay me a living wage, I'm walking. And remember, if minimum wage had kept to pace with production, it would be $23 an hour. So if they're offering 15 or 18, that's still below the value that they get out of a minimum wage employee. And don't think for a second that higher minimum wages are going to balloon the prices of your items, because they don't. There are places in America right now that have $15 an hour minimum wages, and the cost of a taco at Taco Bell isn't any more expensive really than anywhere else. Slightly more expensive, but okay. I can deal with slightly more expensive. Hell, I'd be willing to pay 50 cents more per any item at Walmart if it meant that every single employee had a living wage and didn't have to go get food stamps. But the Republicans are blaming the increase in prices going on right now on Biden. Why? Because the classic Nazi advice: blame the other side for that which you do. And nobody balloons prices and runs up a deficit better than the Republicans. But then they can blame Biden for that which they have themselves have done for the last 60 years. It's politics 101. The Republicans are shameless. They will lie, cheat, steal, maim, poison, and kill in the name of serving their billionaires. All of these things are true. We know this. It is not news. It's not propaganda. It's not a conspiracy theory. We know that Republicans will do these things. We have the proof. We have the receipts, as they say. And yet nobody seems to care. The Republican base sure doesn't. They keep voting these assholes into office and then blaming the other side for the problems that they themselves have committed us to because they continue to vote for the assholes. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't like the Democrats either. think they're weak. I want socialists in office. I want progressives in power. I want people with backbones, people that will stand shoulder to shoulder with the workers and tell the capitalists to shut up and sit down. But we don't have that right now. But we do have, though, our shameless Republicans blaming Biden for increased prices and inflation, which has taken place under every single solitary administration forever. For the entire history of capitalism, prices have increased over time. It's just part of the system. So when it's their guys in power, it's not a problem. When it's a Democrat in power, suddenly it's a really key issue. Funny about that.